We start our story with a classic romance trope: a handsome duke, a beautiful lady, and a sword through the gut. That's right, folks. Here we have our female lead, Bianca, looking absolutely delusional as she stares at her fiancé, Ricardo. She thinks she is saving him by poisoning his lover, Maria, but Ricardo isn't having any of it. Instead of a thank you kiss, she gets the sharp end of his blade. As the life drains out of her, she still thinks this is some twisted form of salvation. Talk about a toxic relationship. But wait. Just as things get bloody, Bianca jolts awake in her luxurious bed, sweating like she just ran a marathon. It turns out it was just a nightmare, or was it? Her maid tries to check on her, but Bianca, channeling her inner diva, screams at the poor girl to get out. Clearly, waking up from being murdered doesn't put you in the best mood. Now, here is where things get spicy. Bianca calms down and looks at a book she bought, titled Story of the Splendor Empire. She thought she was buying a boring history textbook to look smart, but surprise! It is actually a trashy romance novel. And the main character? It is her fiancé, Ricardo Winkaser. But the real kicker is that Bianca isn't the heroine of this story. Oh no, she reads the fine print and realizes she is the villainess destined to be beheaded. Let's break down the stats of our girl. She is Bianca Crawford, the only child of a super prestigious Marquis family. She is rich, she is powerful, and she is widely considered one of the top beauties in the entire empire. Basically, she has everything going for her, except for the plot armor. In this world, status is everything, and she sits right at the top, which makes her eventual downfall even more humiliating. So, if Bianca is the villain, who is the hero? Enter Maria. She is the classic lowly but kind protagonist and illegitimate child from the countryside who captures the Duke's heart. Bianca admits Maria is beautiful but calls her uncultured. But here is the funny part: the book isn't just a romance, it is a steamy one. It portrays Ricardo as a man of passion who is constantly all over Maria. And Bianca? She admits she read those specific scenes over and over again, purely for analysis, of course. Back to reality. We cut to a beautiful garden tea party where Bianca is sitting across from the man of her nightmares, Ricardo Winkaser. Look at this guy. Broad shoulders, long legs, handsome face, he is literally the perfect specimen. Bianca is sipping her tea, trying not to drool over his deep voice, while simultaneously remembering that this perfect man is destined to slice her open. The problem is, the Ricardo in front of her is nothing like the passionate beast in the novel. He is as cold as ice. He treats their engagement exactly for what it is, a business transaction between two powerful families. He doesn't hate her, but he definitely doesn't look at her the way he looks at Maria in the book illustrations. It is just empty. Bianca decides to test the waters. She needs to know if he is capable of murder. So, casually, over tea and cake, she asks, "Under what circumstances would you kill someone?" You know, normal couple conversation. Ricardo, probably wondering if she forgot her meds, answers logically, ideally, during a war. But Bianca pushes harder. She asks, "When would you kill someone outside of war?" Ricardo gives the answer that seals her fate. He says he would only kill a person if they harmed someone dear to his heart. Bingo! In the book, Bianca gets jealous, tries to kill Maria, and Ricardo kills Bianca in retaliation. The prophecy is confirmed. Hearing this straight from the horse's mouth sends Bianca into a full-blown internal panic attack. She starts trembling so hard the teacups rattle. Her face goes pale. She realizes that the man sitting across from her, looking all dashing and calm, is a dormant volcano waiting to erupt and destroy her. Ricardo notices she is acting weird, first blushing, now looking like a ghost. For a split second, Bianca hopes he is worried about her, just like the romantic lead in the book. But nope. He coldly tells her to go home and get some rest. He basically kicks her out. So much for romance. Bianca isn't going down without a fight. She rushes back to the bookstore where she bought the cursed novel. She slams the book on the counter and demands to know who wrote this trash. She needs answers. But here comes the twist. The shopkeeper looks at the book and says, "We didn't sell this." He points out there is no store tag on it. He even pulls out other romance novels with absolutely ridiculous titles to show her how they usually mark their books. Bianca insists she bought it there 3 days ago, but the old man swears he has never seen a title-like story of the Splendor Empire in his 40 years of selling books. He suggests maybe a thief swapped it, but that doesn't make sense. Why would a thief leave a priceless, magical prophecy book behind? Bianca leaves the store, confused and terrified. She tries to convince herself the story is just trash fiction. But as she walks away, her mind drifts to the plot again. She thinks about Sir Winsbury and the illegitimate daughter, Maria. Why would a perfect man like Ricardo fall for an illegitimate child and leave a high-status beauty like Bianca? Is the book a warning from the future, or is someone playing a cruel game with her? One thing is for sure, if she doesn't change the plot, she is dead meat. Tune in next time to see if she can survive the romance. We start this episode with a classic villainous dilemma, fashion. Bianca is getting dressed in a stunning red gown, and her maid, Panya, nervously suggests a pair of white corsage shoes to match. Now, usually, this would be the part where the evil noblewoman slaps the maid for such a bold suggestion, and judging by the panic on Panya's face, she expects exactly that. But Bianca pauses. Instead of flying into a rage, she wonders if this terrified girl actually has a better fashion sense than her. Bianca decides to let it slide for now, asking for black shoes instead, but the atmosphere in the room is heavy. She realizes that her entire staff is terrified of her. And why wouldn't they be? She admits she never made an effort to be nice because it is easier to control people when they are shaking in their boots. Being a villainess is lonely work, but hey, at least the wardrobe is top tier. Cut to a lovely dinner that feels more like a funeral. Bianca is dining with her fiancé, Ricardo, and Sir Winsbury. The old man is praising Ricardo for beheading 33 men on the battlefield. 33. Nothing says romantic dinner like discussing decapitations over steak. Bianca looks bored out of her mind. She spent 3 hours getting ready just to listen to war stories? Talk about a waste of makeup. The conversation inevitably turns to the most awkward topic possible, marriage. Sir Winsbury asks when the happy couple plans to tie the knot. Ricardo, being the emotional brick wall that he is, just shrugs and says eventually. Bianca realizes she has been waiting for years, through her debutante ball, through his war campaigns, until she turned 20, and he still hasn't proposed. She is basically a placeholder to him. Enough is enough. Bianca pulls Ricardo aside for a private chat. He looks completely uninterested, probably thinking she is going to nag him about wedding dates. He tells her to give him advance notice for the wedding so he can prepare. The audacity of this man. He assumes she is just dying to marry him. But Bianca looks him dead in the eye and asks if he really thinks they are getting married. Then, she drops the nuclear bomb. She tells him clearly, no, we are not getting married anymore. We are breaking off the engagement. Ricardo's stoic mask finally cracks. He looks confused, reminding her of the alliance between their families. But Bianca isn't having it. She is trying to save her own life here, and getting married to her future murderer is not part of the survival plan. To seal the deal, she decides to test if his personality matches the psycho from the novel. She brings up a specific detail from the book, a dog he raised as a child. Ricardo immediately gets suspicious, asking how she knows that. Bianca dodges the question, claiming she just heard rumors, but she knows she is treading on dangerous ground. She pushes the knife in deeper. She suggests that if they live together, they should get a dog of the same breed. This triggers him. Ricardo snaps, his eyes glowing with rage. He declares that no dog can ever replace his childhood pet and tells her she should never try to replace someone. The room practically shakes with his intensity. Bingo! He hates replacements. This confirms he is the same obsessive man from the book who will kill her for hurting his true love. Terrified by the confirmation, Bianca rushes back to her room to destroy the source of her misery, the book. She calls it a piece of crap and tries to rip it apart with her bare hands. But the book is indestructible. It won't tear. It won't even wrinkle. It is like it is mocking her. If brute force won't work, maybe fire will. She throws the accursed book into the fireplace and watches the flames engulf it. She waits 1 minute. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. She pulls it out, expecting ashes, but the book is perfectly fine. In fact, it looks even cleaner than before. It is officially a magical object of doom. Bianca realizes she is trapped. According to the book, Ricardo will meet the heroine, Maria, on St. George's Day, fall passionately in love, and then Bianca will die. She refuses to accept this fate. She is rich, beautiful, and high status. Why should she be the one to die? She resolves to find a loophole and survive, no matter what. She starts studying the book like it is for a final exam. She reads it 3 more times and realizes the book portrays her as a vain, abusive villainess who treats people like dirt. She looks in the mirror and admits, yeah, that is pretty accurate. She has been terrible to her staff. If she wants to change her fate, maybe she needs to stop acting like the villain the book says she is. The next morning, it is time to get ready again. The maids are terrified, expecting her to lash out. Bianca asks for a hairstyle and jewelry, but then she remembers the maid, Panya, from yesterday. The one who suggested the white shoes. Bianca decides to test the waters and asks for the white shoes she previously rejected. Panya freezes. She thinks she is being mocked or set up for punishment. She falls to her knees, begging for forgiveness, blabbering about her starving family. She says her mother died, her father is injured, and she has 5 siblings starving at home. It is a tragic backstory dump right in the middle of a dressing room. Bianca is stunned. She didn't ask for a sob story, she just wanted shoes. But instead of firing her, Bianca does something unexpected. She tells Panya to go collect a silver coin from the butler as a reward for her fashion advice. Panya breaks down in tears of gratitude, looking at Bianca like she is a guardian angel. Bianca is confused but goes with it. And just as she does this one good deed, the cursed book on the table starts to glow. Has the plot begun to change? The next step in Bianca's survival plan is information. She summons her butler and orders a background check on Maria Villona, the heroine of the cursed book. The butler looks confused. Why would a high-ranking noble lady care about a random commoner from a town called Enchany? But Bianca is thorough. She demands to know everything: her age, her appearance, if her mother is sick, and most importantly, her relationship with Sir Wensbury. But Bianca isn't done. She decides to do a little market research on herself. She asks the butler about her reputation. The butler immediately launches into praise mode, calling her the flower of high society, elegant, beautiful, and wise. Standard servant flattery. But Bianca cuts him off. She doesn't care about the public image. She wants the truth about her personality. Specifically, what do the servants really think of her? The butler freezes. He starts sweating bullets. He clearly didn't prepare for this question. He stammers out a weak lie that they all love her, but his face screams otherwise. Bianca sighs. She knows the truth. She is terrifying, and they are all just trying not to get fired or executed. She dismisses him, but not before dropping a bombshell. She tells the butler to give Panya, the maid from earlier, a silver coin as a reward. The butler is stunned. He probably thinks Bianca hit her head. He explains that Panya comes from a tragic background: dead mom, injured dad, 5 starving siblings. The classic sob story. Usually, Bianca wouldn't care, but this time, something shifts. She orders him to send Panya home with leftover bread too. Alone in her room, Bianca reflects on her situation. She realizes her personality is basically trash, just like in the book. If she wants to avoid being the villain who gets her head chopped off, she needs to change. Suddenly, the cursed book on the table starts glowing again. It seems her small act of kindness triggered something. She opens the book and her eyes widen. The text is changing right before her eyes. The original ending where she dies and Ricardo kisses Maria over her corpse is gone. The story has shifted. It seems her fate isn't set in stone after all. If she stops being a villain, maybe, just maybe, she won't have to die. The book reveals a heartbreaking detail from the original timeline. After her execution, no one visited her grave except for one person, a maid she had once shown a rare moment of kindness to. That maid placed a wildflower on her tombstone. Bianca realizes that even in her wretched first life, kindness was the only thing that left a mark. This confirms her new strategy: be nice, survive. Emboldened by this revelation, Bianca decides to go big. She calls for her carriage and announces she is going out to do a good deed. Her servants are baffled. The Lady Bianca doing charity? It sounds like a joke. But she is serious. She demands her checkbook and plenty of cash. She is going to sponsor an orphanage, and she is going to make sure everyone knows about it. They arrive at a rundown orphanage. It is dirty, it is messy, and normally, Bianca would have turned her nose up in disgust. But today, she doesn't mind the grime. She spots a little girl running towards her and feels nothing. No disgust, no annoyance. Just a strange sense of purpose. A woman approaches her, asking who she is. It is a commoner, looking confused by the noble lady standing in the mud. Bianca introduces herself and demands to see the director. The little girl stares at her in awe, asking if she is a princess. Bianca, unable to resist a little ego boost, admits that yes, she is basically like a princess. The innocence of the child catches her off guard. She is actually enjoying this. The little girl grabs Bianca's hand to lead her inside. Her maid freaks out, yelling at the child for touching the noble lady with dirty hands. But Bianca surprises everyone again. She doesn't pull away. She looks at the dirty hand holding hers and realizes she doesn't mind it at all. She walks into the orphanage, hand in hand with a commoner child. Inside, she meets the director, Leanne Sparta. Bianca gets straight to the point. She is here to sponsor the orphanage. The director is shocked. A noble lady just waltzing in and offering money? It is unheard of. But Bianca has a condition. She is not doing this anonymously. She wants the director to spread the word that Lady Bianca Crawford is the generous sponsor. Posters, word of mouth, she wants the full PR package. The director is a bit confused by the request for publicity, but she is desperate. She agrees, tears in her eyes, saying the money will cover repairs and clothes for the children. Bianca feels a strange sensation in her chest. Is this happiness? Helping people actually feels good? Who knew? She writes the check, feeling like she just bought her way into heaven. As she leaves, feeling accomplished, she runs into someone unexpected. A tall, dark figure is standing in the orphanage yard. He is dressed like a commoner, but that glare is unmistakable. It is Ricardo. What is the Duke doing at a rundown orphanage in commoner clothes? And why is he looking at her like she just kicked a puppy? Bianca freezes. Her survival plan was going so well, but running into her future murderer in a secluded location was definitely not on the agenda.